Hey guys, welcome to the Diamond District. I don't like the words cheat codes or hack because I think that they speak to a part of ourselves that are trying to make things easier. Um, and truth be told, like, life is not a game at all. But I understand the need for using those terminologies. And if I were to say, is there one cheat code that could really change things for you? It's a very simple one. It's the ability to be alone in a room by yourself with no distractions. Anything is possible if you can do that. You see, there's a literal quote out there where it says the root of a lot of man's problems come from the inability to do just that. Sit alone in a room with no distractions by themselves. Because people don't want to face themselves. People don't want to deal with the reality of who they are. So this is why they distract themselves so much. This is why they turn to entertainment. This is why they turn to food. This is why they turn to drugs. They don't want to deal with their reality of who they are and where they are in life. But for this particular case, it's a little deeper than just being there in a room alone by yourself. Okay, that's not always going to serve a great purpose for you. With this particular cheat code, I would recommend taking that time and planning out your life. You see, when I was 20, as soon as I turned 20 years old, I had made a big decision and I had left the comfort of my mother's house to go stay with my father, which was less comfortable, but the level of freedom that I got was unparalleled. I could just kind of go do whatever I wanted to do like an actual 20-year-old, which was the only reason I really left my mother's house. So on one particular day, I'm from New York, so I went to the city. I found this park, I sat down and I wrote everything that I was gonna do, what I wanted to be. And honestly, I don't really remember all the things that I wrote, but I can honestly say that most of it wasn't really accomplished. I think I touched upon a few things or I got close to a few things, but overall, a lot of those things weren't accomplished. The reason why was because I wrote down a lot of desires, but I never wrote down actionable steps to accomplish those goals. And that's very fucking important, because if you just know what you want to do, but you don't know how you're going to do it, you're not going to do it. Like for example, if somebody was to have the goal of becoming a millionaire and you just walk around with that goal, like I want to be a multi-millionaire, I want to own a very successful corporation, that's a beautiful dream to have. It's really good. How are you going to get there? And some people might say, like, don't worry about the plan, just focus on the goal. But they're not understanding what that really means. You're essentially working backwards. Like, the moment you have a goal, and that's really the point of starting off with a goal, is to have the goal, set it, and then work backwards from, okay, how are you from where you are going to get there? And from working backwards, you can determine, like, okay, this is probably what I'm going to need to do to get there. What I did was I just had these goals and I had this belief that they were going to come to fruition because there was something unique or special about me. And eventually somebody's going to see it and identify this unique trait about myself, which was very arrogant of me, because every single human being on earth is a unique individual. Especially if they allow themselves to be and they don't just subscribe to the everyday thinking and the everyday way of being and the everyday way of dressing. If people just really truly be themselves, if you would literally walk around and see people who are unlike every other person that you meet, like everybody else is really their own unique individual. So me thinking that I had so much to offer, just by being who I am naturally, I was very arrogant. I figured, like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and eventually someone's going to see my talent and raise me from where I am to where I want to be. So this was I didn't realize it, but this was almost like a somebody is going to save me mentality. But it was disguised in this weird ego and pride situation. And the reason why it was disguised in this ego and pride situation is because, I felt like I was worthy of being where I wanted to be. But when you don't have a plan on how to truly get there, you just think it's going to happen, you're really waiting for someone else to make it happen for you. And this is why I say one of the most pivotal cheat codes you can ever have for life is the ability to sit in a room by yourself, no distractions, no shows, don't even put on music. You see, like music, and I make beats, right? As much as I love making music and, listening to music, I can honestly say that by listening to other people's visions, dreams, traumas, goals, and ambitions, sometimes it's motivated me to do really good things. Other times, not so much. But like I would say, predominantly, most of the time, it would feel like I'm living vicariously through somebody else. Like I'm walking around with this sense of accomplishment for something I did not accomplish because I'm listening to them talk about something that I'm also envisioning for myself, but I don't have. So I'm walking around with this feeling of accomplishment that I didn't earn. And the law of attraction, if you're familiar with physics at all, it's very important for you to feel like you have accomplished the goal before the goal happens. So that's important. But if you just feel like you accomplished the goal before it happened and you haven't done any actual external execution to help you get closer to the goal, you're delusional. So I don't know when I truly realized this. I think I always had the words for it, but it wasn't honestly until this moment where I'm able to put it into a sentence. If you keep listening to other people's stories and victories and journeys, bro, you're going to become very delusional. You're going to be very delusional, which is why you need the ability to give space for your voice, your mind, your vision to make something come to life for you, by you. You have to be the main character of your story. You can't live vicariously through anybody. Like, even that phrase is insanity. Your life is yours and you're supposed to live it. No one's going to live it for you. And as much as, other people's stories, they are able to provide you inspiration or insight or maybe like a specific energy. Like at this point, I more so listen to music for like energy, not necessarily inspiration or entertainment purposes. But the most powerful thing you can do is give space for your own mind and your own thoughts to create your own vision of reality. Because so many people don't realize it, that they're really walking around thinking they've accomplished something because of all the music they listen to, because of all the TV shows they've watched. They think that these people's accomplishments are their own. It's one of the most interesting things when you watch sports events. And don't get me wrong, I like sports, especially boxing. I fucking love boxing. People could watch. I remember when I was watching the Philadelphia Eagles and when they won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And I remember seeing like Jalen Hurts kind of in his feelings about this moment that he was experiencing. And so many people are like on the stage going crazy, and people in Philly are talking about like, yeah, we did it. And it's like, who is we? They did it. Jalen Hurts did it. The team did it. The franchise did it. The people who went on the field, the coaches did it. The players did it. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything at all. And that's the delusional aspect of like entertainment. You feel like you're a part of something you're not a part of. You feel like you contributed to a story you had no place in. And this is where, we end up robbing ourselves. This is where we end up fucking This is where we end up like totally lost in life because you're thinking that you're doing this and you're not. That's why I preach results. You know what I'm saying? Even though even for me, like I'm not gonna say like I'm where I want to be. I will always be very transparent with that. But I can look at the little results that I have and say like, okay, this is tangible, and I can show this to someone. And when I tell them like, hey, I think you should do this, I'm saying it from a perspective of because I've done this and I can show you, right? So if I'm trying to encourage somebody like, yo, you should make YouTube content regardless of how you feel, regardless of what your setup is, just record, go on camera, and then maybe you'll improve along the way, like your ability to speak, your production value, these things can improve. But if you're just waiting for the perfect opportunity, then you're wasting the time that you could have on building rapport with people online, or at least just building a visual catalog, which would then pay you later in the future. People may not take the advice I'm trying to give them right now based on my viewership, but there will be a point where they'll look at what I'm doing and look at the results that I'm getting down the line, or shit, maybe next week, maybe next month, and be like, you know what? I believe you. And they believe me because they're looking at the results that I've done. And you have to understand that that is the only way you're going to get far in life, is results. But just to kind of keep things on track, in order for you to get real tangible results, bro, you need a plan. You need a plan that includes actionable steps that you can do on a day-to-day basis, right? So you need to plan and you need to execute. And you will never be able to plan appropriately long-term if you don't actually take a moment to sit in a room by yourself and think. Now, today was kind of supposed to be that day for me, but I don't know. I just been kind of like dealing with a lot of emotional stuff. I feel like I'm always dealing with emotional stuff, but I'm not necessarily an emotional person, funny enough. I have a trip to California coming up in a couple days. I'm going to be turning 30 while I'm out there. And almost in line with my tradition, I'm going to take the time to write on what I want to be. First, acknowledging what I am and what I've been through and what I've overcome. I think that's very important for you to do. And then lastly, what I'm going to do next as far as a plan, actionable steps. Not just what I would like to do, but what is it going to be? What is it going to look like? What I'm going to drive? Where am I going to live? How long am I going to live where I'm going to be at? Like all these different things. All of this shit is important, man. Like nothing is not important. That's one of the interesting things about life, is that some of the things that you feel like mean nothing, give it time, you'll look back and be like, oh shit, I don't know why I didn't give this the attention that it deserved. If I would recommend a book to anybody, it's The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy or Hardley something, Darren H for short. I don't want to get too deep on the book, but I will preach that book until the day I die, because if you're able to read that book and take a moment to think about how you got to where you are in this particular moment, then you have a much better understanding of what it's going to take for you to get to where you want to go to. Daily actionable steps, in short, if you don't feel like reading. Daily actionable steps that are easy to do. They will compound into something beautiful. But understand that everything compounds. So all of your bad decisions, they compound as well. So use that power. But remember, if you don't have like a plan, you might end up anywhere. But don't spend too much time planning. That is a warning. People spend way too much time planning. And they spend so much time planning that they end up staying right there, spending all that time planning. See, planning, I'm not going to go into a full tangent, but this is really just a warning. Planning is one of those actions that feels very productive. But until you have executed the things in that plan, understand that you have wasted your time. You feel me? Planning is one of those actions where the benefit is pending until you take the steps that you've established that need to be done. If you don't take them, it was a waste. So don't waste your time. Stop distracting yourself. Wake up and smell the coffee, the flowers, whatever the fuck people say. I'm going to find a way to consistently get better. Whether it's just doing like the small things like making these videos consistently regardless of the results, or doing small things in my personal life to get better. But it's all worth it at the end of the day. Nothing is more important than just like improving. And not in the self-improvement tip. Like, honestly, I see how poisonous that rhetoric can be. But it's just a matter of like, please understand that your life can get better, but your life will only get better if you take the necessary steps to do so. And in order for your life to get better, you got to get better. Don't worry so much about like watching 1,000 self-improvement videos. Like, that shit don't really matter at the end of the day. What matters is what you're going to do. So if you were to take anything from this video, if I was to summarize it in one short, complete sentence: go into a room, don't watch nothing, don't listen to nothing, take out a pen and paper, write it down, don't put it in your notes, write it down. Write down where you want to, who do you want to become, where do you want to be, how you're going to get there. This video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but I don't really give a fuck at this point. Just really still shooting my shot. Hoping that, this shit reaches somebody. But sending much love, man.